everyone. So glad to have you join us for this conversation. I am so excited to talk about careers in general, but specific anytime, love careers, but also the general information about game design. Game design, game programming, and the games industry are a big part of what we focus on in CG Spectrum and how people go into getting jobs. So I'd love to give you some insight about what we do to help students and alumni at CG Spectrum, but also any general questions that you might have about the industry or how to break into jobs in general. So my name is Holly Puckett. I'm located in Portland, Oregon, and I have been a career coach for starting on 6 years now. And then before that, I was an attorney. So my practice focused on banking litigation and poverty law, specifically in Oregon, and then also employment advice as a part of being a career coach. And then also, of course, I love creativity. And whenever I have a chance to look at someone else's artwork or portfolio, I always get chill bumps and very, very inspired by that. So it's a privilege to get to work in a creative industry now. My background is theater performance, and within that, I did costume design. That was my specialization. So a little bit of an art background, but for the most part, I leave the computer graphics to the experts, and I'm so happy to let them shine with their specific knowledge. My thing that I really add at CG Spectrum is an awareness of the job market and the overall industry, as well as making connections with recruiters and other artists who are working and designing games out in the wild. And and then connecting our students with either opportunities or people who are doing things that they love so that they can envision themselves on a similar path. If you are interested in knowing more about CG Spectrum, we are a global top-ranked provider for training related to film and game industry. So there are so many amazing people who are working and doing these jobs who could be your teachers. And my particular focus is figuring out like where the entry-level jobs are for our students. But also, if you have a little bit of background in the industry, figuring out how to uniquely plug you in, given what your skills are. So yeah, we also have an online community that I can't believe how wonderful and beautiful they are. Just the conversations that come up day to day, I learn a ton as someone who knows not as much. So I have a little bit of a taste of all the different program areas, such as visual effects with Houdini and FX and compositing, 3D modeling, digital painting, and then what we're talking about today, game development, game programming, that sort of stuff, animation, all your favorite animated TV shows. There's probably somebody at CG Spectrum who worked on whatever your favorite is. So that's really fun. And then visualization, which is sort of the professional industry that is outside of games and film where these beautiful art skills can be used. So architecture firms need 3D models, and then catalogs like IKEA, for example, are made by 3D modelers in general. Fun fact. So, but back to game development, we have so many amazing mentors. If you have checked out our website, then you probably have a sense of how unbelievable and connected these mentors are. Most mentors work in the industry and then teach as a passion project because they believe in giving back and reaching into the generations that are coming forward and helping them to navigate what can sometimes be a confusing industry. And that's my goal as well. If there's something that is confusing, my aim is to demystify that for you so that you, if you don't know anyone in the industry or you don't have any experience in the industry, I want you to feel like you can approach with confidence and know that your efforts are heading in the right direction as opposed to spinning your wheels in some way. And that's what the mentors are really wonderful for as well, is tangible, actionable advice that gets you into the industry almost on a fast track if you make the most of what they are sharing with you. Then we have this way of training where you work one-on-one with a very amazing mentor, but then all the students and even some more advanced students are all communicating with one another as they learn things. They are sharing their art. They are asking questions when they get stuck on a project. They are sharing their adventures when some sort of software program doesn't do what they thought it might. And someone is there almost 24 hours a day, because we are a global community, to give you tech support and to give you critiques on your work, which is honestly a great way to to get good and ready for this industry, is by sharing your works in progress and receiving feedback on how you would potentially improve. Because the messy middle of learning and preparing a game to launch or programming something in a way that it's functioning as you intend it to, there's so much more time that you spend on the growing and the learning and the getting the thing completed than boom, it's done. On to the next thing. And so receiving and accepting feedback and growing and learning through the adventure of creating something new is a huge part of the learning process at CG Spectrum, but also in your career. So that is something that you would get a lot of practice on. But the reason our community is unique is, in my experience, everyone is genuinely supportive of one another. And if you get criticism, it is going to be constructive and meant to support you and benefit you, as opposed to some other places online where it might not be as friendly. Let's see here. Yeah, so if we could take a second to practice the Q&A feature of our webinar chat. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to encourage you. If there's anything I've said that you're like, I want to know more about that, I want you to feel welcome to chat at any time. And so if everyone who is here, I'm so glad you're here, if you could type in where you're joining from and 1 or 2 words about how your day is going so far, I would love that. So I'm going to say I am Holly from Portland. And my day has been hard work, but happy. Yay. Okay. So please feel welcome to put into the webinar chat, just as I did and as Parach did, where you're from and how you're feeling today. Awesome. Great. So I'm going to keep going, because I know we're here to learn as much as we can about the game industry in the time that we have, and I want to give you good information. So if you were to come to CG Spectrum, there are a couple study pathways that you could take. And not one is better than the other, but they are both designed to give you an education or a track of education that allows you to thrive based on what your needs are. So if you want to learn more about the pathways, the 3-month option or the 9-month option, then you absolutely should chat with our admissions folks, because they are experts in figuring out what the details are that are interesting about your background and which one might be the right match for you. So if this is interesting to you, please do take the next step and talk to the admissions folks. They're around, they're happy to help. So game design, you can either do essentials or foundations. And then for, let's see here, does it let me go? Yeah, game programming, same thing. 3-month term or a 9-month term that offers different in-depth studies on things. The difference is one is a broad overview that gets you started, and one hits a whole bunch of different programmatic areas. And after the essentials, you will have a sense of where you can go next. If you have background already in programming or in game design and you're looking to upskill, the essentials class could be right for you. It also is great for a person who isn't sure if they want to do game design or game programming, and so they're going to do a taste of it to see if they love it and then want to commit their like entire life to it. So exploration and being curious are key parts of figuring out what your career goals will be and what you're passionate about. That's something that I do quite often with students is talk with them about what they love about what they're learning or what their skills are in their daily life that make them happy, so that they can then take those things that charm them and transfer them into where they're going next. Talk about like the different kinds of career paths that could interest you in game programming, game design, or even some of the other categories of creative digital work that you might be interested in. So if you were to have a career in game development, this is just a tiny little list of what's possible. I was talking with the department head of the programming just yesterday, and he said that most of the game design jobs that he saw last year were in level design and and also overall game designers. So those were the two categories of game design. So like a generalist game designer who looks at the big picture, or a level designer who sets up all the different, like if you're playing Super Mario Brother, you need the basic level, and then you need the flames level, and you need the underground level, and all the rules for how those levels interact. That is one of the main jobs that he has seen in the past year. So let me see what else we got in the Q&A. Yay, everybody's saying hi. Hi, Courtney. Hi, Vixen. Okay, let's see what else we got. Then, I mean, I anticipate that you all will want to hear more than what is just on these slides. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit more about where folks have gotten jobs, and then some of the basic stuff that I help people do to get ready to break into the industry. And then talk about more questions that you might have related to what it looks like to work in the industry as an entry-level programmer or a game designer. So for game programming, being able to program an AI is a new opening up field. And being a technical artist is also a field that could be of great interest to you if you come to game development with a background in a different kind of field, such as graphic design or even something like architecture, the way that you have learned previously could allow you to gain some skills and be able to generally transfer that over into your game design. So one great question that has just come up is, what do studios want to see in a portfolio? So there are different kinds of portfolios for different kinds of focuses. So there's a difference between a generalist portfolio and a specific portfolio. And in a broad sense, the whole purpose of a portfolio is to put on public display for employers what it is that you are good at and what it is that you are enjoying from what you're learning, so that an employer can see if you have the skills that match their job description and bring you in for an interview. So it depends on what studio you're applying to, how big they are, so that you would know, like if it's a small studio, then it's possible that they would want to know just about your programming skills. But or if it's a big studio, they might say, we want a programmer who can do these 4 things. But if it's an indie studio or a startup studio, they're going to say, we want a programmer who is interested in having their hands in every part of the business. So you want to focus your portfolio on the kind of employment that you're seeking, and also to the kind of studio that you are passionate about. And as you train, you will get a better sense of what styles you love and what information you want to include in your portfolio. And if you already have a portfolio going, then you want to look for patterns in your portfolio and see how they match an employer that you are hoping to work with. If you don't align your portfolio with the style of the employer where you're hoping to work, then it doesn't allow them to imagine you working with their team. So in general, there's 3 different places that I hear people have portfolios, so that are successful. Well, let's say 4. So if you were a concept artist or an animator, most of those kind of portfolios, anything that is displaying an artwork, is found on ArtStation. If you are a programmer or a game designer, most of those kind of portfolios are found on GitHub. And if you are a compositor or a Houdini expert, then those are usually found on Vimeo, because you will create a short reel of your work to show to an employer. And so in general, game development, game design is displayed on GitHub. Or for any of those categories, you also could have your own website, which would be a great way to control the layout of whatever it is that you're presenting. 2 keys that are very important. You don't want to really, really focus on making anything that you do outside of your work extra flashy to the detriment of your work. The most important thing is showcasing your talent, what you do, how you do it. What your process was can be really important for a game designer, because if you're just showing the end result, it doesn't say as much about the work that you did to get there. So you'll want to have, here's the launched game that we did, and then here are a few of the questions that came up as we went through the process, and what we learned as a team, or how I helped to fix this bug, or so a little bit of discussion about the process is key to a portfolio for a programmer or a game designer. I hope that was helpful in answering that question. And then Courtney's question says, I know the small classes in arts programs, which is super cool. What's the intake rate for new students? That's a great question. It depends on the time of year in general. And so sometimes there will be like 5 students in the class, and the classes start on a monthly basis. And sometimes there will be 2 students in the class. We also, if you want to do self-paced study, we do have like start dates and end dates that we want you to stick with so that you're learning at a nice pace, and that your mentor is able to like go back and forth with you every week with some progress made on your part. But the one-on-one allows you, if you have a specific thing that you want to dive into deeply, then you can do that in addition to the traditional class pace. And then Vixen has a question. Being a pencil figurative artist with no experience in the game dev industry, what category do you suggest would be best for me? Okay, so if you love, I'm going to ask you a follow-up question, Vixen. I hope you're ready. If you love to draw and you like concept art in general, creating the ideas, or if you're looking for doing something new, like I don't know if you want to take what you're drawing and make it computer graphics, or if you're looking to move forward with a different direction. But I would say look into concept art, look into illustration. And if you're really interested in live stuff or the way things move, then animation or compositing might be exciting for you. But game design, if you take a big step back from everything that is happening in a game, the overall big picture of the what's happening is what the game designer focuses on. And so you need to know a little bit about each category in order to be able to pull it all together and translate it into something beautiful. I mean, I really do think that the game designer's job is to create something that is fun, to create something that when another person sits down to interact with what you're creating, it's enjoyable and they have an adventure and they leave it feeling like what you created is something that they are better off for having played with. And so fun is the job of a game designer. Another question coming in, what's the difference between game design and game development? And what skill sets or interests would be good for each? Okay, so design, first of all, these terms do not have a static definition. So one studio might call the person who designs their games the developer. And one person might expect that someone who is a designer would have more of a visual aesthetic about how the game is playing out, as opposed to the under the panels, the nuts and bolts, the functions. And the developer, in theory, would be the one who would have more work on the programming side or the back end, not how visually the game looks, but how the game functions. Do all the levels open at the right time? Is there a bug somewhere? But then again, these are interchangeable. And so in a general sense, a developer would be more focused on the tech pieces and the hardware and dealing with any game bugs, whereas the designer would be like, okay, how are we doing this game? Because I mean, if you think about all the possibilities in games, you could have a fun mobile game that is bright and colorful. You could have a one-person shooter. You could have a multi-person shooter game. You could have interactions where you're trying to get through levels. You could have team efforts trying to get through the level. So there's just and that's just like touching on the surface of the possibilities of all the kinds of games that could be designed by a game designer. So in my sense of this, it is very much dependent on the person, what skill sets they have, whether game design, game programming, or even something like animation might be the right path for them. I suggest that if you are trying to sort of decide about like what pathway is best for you, focus on whether you're a combination of analytical and design focused, or if you really want to work on the programming piece of it, and that can help to lead you. Also, the size of the game studio can play into that as well. So really quick, I'm going to flash through these slides just to help you get excited about game design. Some of the industry companies that have seen CG Spectrum folks and said, heck yeah, that game designer is the one for me, are EA, Stormine Games, Blizzard, Riot, Ubisoft. I'm listing all of these because there are probably game studios that you would recognize, but I also have a big love for the smaller studios that have a lot of experience to offer a student beyond big games. Everyone's excited about that, but like launching a game on your own with like a team of 5 people is also, you could learn a million things when you're doing that. So yeah, if you like a big name studio, there's a lot of great training that you can get from working with our teams. But if you are just passionate about the creation of games, that's another, there's a place for you here. So let's say that you decide to start CG Spectrum and you have this class, and it's going to be incredibly challenging. It's going to push you beyond your boundaries, but also it's going to get you ready for a world-class career, because that's what we do here. Then alongside that, you have access to advice and support from the career coach. I will work one-on-one with you. I will help you to figure out what kind of studio is right for you. If you need help with your resume or your CV or other application materials, I'll provide edits and suggestions for you to help you, figure out how to best present yourself wherever you want to end up. I will help you know where to apply, how to apply, when an internship is coming up. I will highlight that for you. I also bring in industry speakers. I just confirmed today a speaker who's going to be talking in March about, as a job seeker, how do you avoid fraud in your job search? Because we have had, scammers sometimes take advantage of people, but knowing how to be a savvy job searcher is incredibly important. So that's an upcoming webinar that we'll be offering. I also can help you with interview preparation. So let's say that you made a beautiful portfolio and your resume got you through the door, and you have like a 5-round interview process with an employer that might hire you. I can help you with mock interview preparation, questions, what to expect if there is an art test round, all of that good stuff. So I think the key thing to know about this process is that if you are in CG Spectrum, you're not alone figuring out where and how to apply and what needs to, demystifying the process of joining this industry is my top goal. I don't want anyone to feel like they have to do it alone. So let's see. Another question coming in. Can you get good experience from boutique studios? What are the pros and cons of big studios versus smaller ones? Fantastic question, first of all. Um, so I there are different personalities for all kinds of work. And that's kind of the amazing thing about, well, life in general, but in specific, this industry. If you want to know about the culture of a particular studio, chances are that you can speak with a recruiter who will give you some insights into, well, these are the different kinds of programs that we offer to build community, or we don't really do a lot outside of our work because we're all so passionate about it. And at the end of the day, we just want to go home and enjoy our families. Or is there an open door policy? So if you were in person, then you, with the studio, everybody keeps their doors open so that you can hear the person next to you um, smashing their table when something doesn't go right, and you can go in and be like, hey, can I help? You know? Um, so a lot of whether you like your work or not comes down to the culture of the place, whether it's big or small. And the difference between the big studio and the smaller studio is going to be the amount of resources available for you to do your work, and then the scope of your work. So in a big studio, there might be 10 people who are doing the same job you're doing. And your expectation is to come in and really focus on one aspect of launching a game. And so the expectations are extremely clear. And you're not going to know too much about the overall business plans or the pipeline of production, which would be like who's before you in the process and who's after you in the process. Like taking a game from its very start to its very finish, you have a role to play in that, and it's very niche. So it could be very specific training. There's also excellent mentorship in a larger setting, because if you don't like one mentor, then there's going to be another one available, and so you can find your kindred spirits quite easily in a larger studio. In a smaller studio, the culture can sometimes matter a lot more because it's a smaller group working closer together, where you might be asked to help them make business decisions, which would be very different from a large studio. You could weigh in on what direction the project could take in a smaller studio. You might be asked to have an opinion on finance issues, really, like, so a little bit more of the business of creating the game, as well as an awareness of where it is in the pipeline and what's coming next, the overall picture. Some people don't want to run a small business, and the idea of working in a big studio is just ideal for them because you like, I know exactly what I'm doing here, versus I have this great team and we are brainstorming together, and this is going to be like, one day this is going to be big, you know. And smaller studios have all different kinds of setups and funding pictures as well. So you just never know. And so the key for that to me would be networking, getting out there and understanding who is doing what and what it is about that that is unique, so that you can understand if it resonates with you and you want to be a part of it or not. And that comes with a little bit of research and a little bit of self-reflection to know what sort of environment you belong in. Okay. Another question. What are the networking opportunities at CG Spectrum? Gosh, I love you. You asked the best question. Okay. Do you get studio reps coming to look at student portfolios or anything like that? So I love it because look here, I've got information on networking. So generally speaking, CG Spectrum helps you to figure out where you want to network, and then gives you the information that you need to be ready for it. And that could be formal or informal. So I helped a student prepare. She was attending a panel conversation about 3D animation. And then afterwards, there was like a networking dinner, and the panelists were at the dinner. And so she asked me, how do I approach them? And of course, I said, it's best not to approach them while they're eating and they have their mouth full, or like while they're in the bathroom. Don't go up to them then, but how do you start a conversation with someone who is an authority and it's a formal occasion versus informal? I spoke with a student who we talked about networking previously, and then she ended up on an airplane her seat was next to someone who ended up offering her a job in the industry. It's unbelievable. But yeah, if she said she would not have been as prepared if she hadn't, attended something about networking before that. It helped her to feel a lot more comfortable that she was saying the right things to this industry professional. Yeah, and then she contacted me to ask about negotiation of salary. So generally speaking, the information that you need to be able to be successful in networking is one of the things that I love to talk about. But then also, how do you network online when you've got potential mentors out there and dream studios out there and you don't know where to start to connect with them? Telling your mentor that you are interested in that, they might know someone and help connect you. But also, I have brought in recruiters from big studios to talk about, this is what we're looking for when we are looking at a portfolio, or if you message us on LinkedIn, this is what we hope you might say versus tips of what to avoid. So we do have a lot of opportunities to allow you to practice and allow you to feel, let's see, how do I go back? There we go. And allow you to feel more comfortable so that you're prepared if it should come up, but also if we know that you're interested in talking to someone, sometimes we can figure out that connection and either make that introduction or bring them in a way that it doesn't necessarily put the pressure on you to perform. If you're at the start of your career and you're hoping to like hear from someone who's like 10 years into their career, but you don't want to actually say, yes, I want to talk to that person, then having a small chat with other people who are like you and that industry professional, you can practice networking and talking with them. Let's see. What else? Some of the wonderful things that I love to do with students, particularly, is if you know that you want to do something, but you just are kind of vaguely like, where do I get started? I love taking you from, I know I want to be this kind of artist, to, all right, here are your next 3 steps that get you on that journey. People who feel insecure or uncertain about what's coming next for them, sometimes the big picture can get extremely overwhelming. And I just want to offer you some like calm, that the best way to deal with that is to take a tangible step in that direction, because sometimes you can't see where you're going to end up. But if you're flexible and you are showing up with curiosity and a good attitude, and you take steps in that direction, then it immediately starts to be clear what your next step is to move forward. And so if you have a passion for art, for game design, for programming, I encourage you to nourish that, whatever that looks like for you, and take tiny steps to get there, because that's genuinely the key to figuring out what comes next for you. Okay, then I've got Danny. Hi, Danny from Texas. Art school versus CG Spectrum. So let's see here. I have not attended art school myself, so I want to make sure that I do not give you the wrong advice on this. I can tell you what CG Spectrum does, and then I want you to compare it for yourself so that you're sure that you're making the right choice. one student that I spoke to who was going to CG Spectrum in the evenings and going to an art school during the day said that the art school covered a lot of general topics, but he was able to do a deeper dive at CG Spectrum. So if you want a taster of a lot of different subjects, then a longer program might be right for you. If you are quite sure that you want to be a particular kind of game designer, then I would surround yourself with people who are working as game designers in order to be able to get yourself on that level. And that is what CG Spectrum would provide, would be people who are working in the industry that could then advise you about what your next move might be. So it's kind of a question of where are you in your journey and what is it that you know will help you to clarify what's right for you. And if you do know that you want to do a certain career path, I suggest that you jump on it as fast as you can, because the amount of training that you can get is going to be very, very helpful. Okay, let's see. Does a level designer or a game designer need to know programming to land a job in the industry, or just knowing how to design is enough? That's a wonderful question. So level designers or game designers do not necessarily need to know programming. It can help to inform your overall understanding of how the game fits together if you do have an understanding of another area along the pipeline that you are designing. But it is not essential. So if you knew how to do modeling, even, that could be an asset for you as a game designer. Knowing design, a big piece of knowing how to design is not necessarily using a specific kind of software. It's not about pushing the right buttons. It is so much more about how you think. And so the different theories behind the games, and the systems that will allow a game to work are far more important than the software that you use. For example, a big game design software that people love and it's amazing is Unreal Engine. I'm sure you've heard of it before. And if you haven't, you should check it out because it's really amazing. But only about 30% of games are being designed in Unreal Engine. So there are so many other platforms out there that could be useful to you. So it's more important for you to know the theory and the systems behind games, why you choose what you choose, and what is practically going to work in a game than intense knowledge of software, because software changes, it updates, and the most popular thing is this in this particular context. So you're always going to be learning something new across your career, and that's going to be true no matter who you are. I mean, think about when you were a little tiny person, what was the social media that you used the most? And then what? And then the next few years, what did you learn? And now what are we on to? Just think about what you use for fun and what games you've interacted with and how that's changed. It's the same on the other side of things as well. So knowing the theory behind games is the magical key, in my opinion, more so than knowing a specific programming language or software. And I feel very confident that our mentors or department heads would say the same on that. So, yay. A couple more Q&As. Question coming in. We already answered that one. Already answered that one. No open questions. Hey, I'm doing it right. Okay, so moving on. There are actual career coach classes at CG Spectrum. And there are also, special series that we offer. So one that we did last year was focused on the hard skills of working. A lot of people you hear about soft skills on your resume, like team building or being able to be a good communicator. All of those things are extremely critical, but there's also hard skills that you kind of should keep in the back of your mind, such as how do you credit other people for work if there was a collaboration, or if you used one asset to build your next asset, how do you explain um, the collaboration or the contribution of someone else? Copyright information and licensing, and things like that. So the hard skills of what it's like to work in this industry. That was one of the series that we did last year, which we'll probably do something like that again this year. If you're around, you should join us. Let's see what else. So we're on the Q&A piece. I just want you to know that if you want to explore more about career options related to the game industry, that you are welcome to visit our website. I also would be so happy if there is something that we didn't have time to answer today, or if there was something that you wanted to ask but you didn't feel comfortable asking here. It is totally great for you to contact admissions, and they will get in touch with me about what your options are, and hopefully I can answer your question that way. And then if you have heard this and it excites you and you know you want to sign up, I also suggest that you get in touch, because that's the next step to take on your path. And then if you liked what I had to say about game design, you should talk to people who actually do game design. I am a person who can help you. I can open doors to get you into the roles, but there's nothing that can beat people who have done this work before and their perspective and asking them questions. So if you're around, and you're curious about how to start your own studio, or you're curious about speaking with um, some mentors who teach classes and are just the kindest and most intelligent game designer folks that you're ever going to find anywhere, then you should sign up for our upcoming Games Month other courses that are coming along. I am so happy to have been able to talk to y'all about the good stuff that I know about game design and careers. But I know that there's a wealth of great things to talk about beyond this. So please keep exploring no matter what you do. And then also you're welcome to check out our YouTube channel. Oh my goodness, there are so many awesome resources there that if you are into games and you were to click on that now, good luck going to sleep tonight. You're going to be listening to a whole bunch of cool information. And then also connecting with us on social media will allow you to keep seeing some of the cool stuff we're up to if you decide you don't want to join the school immediately, just to sort of keep in the background that this was ever something that interested you, so that when it's right, you can jump on it. Does anyone have any burning questions that are in their head right now that they'd love to know about? Hi, Greg. Greg, I already have a background of computer science and knowledge in game programming. Beautiful. Awesome. I would like to combine that knowledge with project management. Is that possible in the game dev industry? I feel like, I love this question, but also, Greg, I feel like you know the answer to that already, because that to me sounds like the whole opportunity of being able to work in the games industry. It's a combination of you got to put all the pieces together in order to launch the game. And so everyone's going to have these different things that they're bringing. And if you have a background in game programming and you already have a knowledge in that, and then you add it to the ability to like administratively manage the way that the game is progressing, whether that is your actual job or not, to keep something on track, it's still really valuable in a team to keep that at the front of your mind. So definitely that is a question that yeah, you know the answer to that. Absolutely. It is possible and very commonplace in every single game that you will find, that there is a project management aspect to the job of anyone who's making sure that a project is moving forward. So that makes a lot of good sense. So good question. Thank you so much. Let's see what else. Looking to see if anyone has asked any more questions, and I don't know that they have. Let's see, is there, I guess another thing that I manage as the career coach is a career specific channel on Slack, which is one of the places where our students communicate quite frequently. I post things almost every week about like really good information on how to find a job, or I heard this person asking a question about applicant tracking systems. Does anyone know what those are? Um, they are they're called ATSs in the industry. And basically, when you apply for a larger studio, probably about 70% of any big industry, like in any job you apply for, across not just games, but the world, is going to organize your application, everyone else's applications, into a applicant tracking system that allows them to see all the candidates and make a comparison of the candidates so that they can more efficiently make hiring decisions. And so sometimes they give a score based on how well the information presented matches the job description. But other times they give like a broader, like it allows the recruiter or the person who's making the hiring decision to flip through every single resume and read it individually for themselves. So there is a myth that if someone uses an applicant tracking system and your resume has certain features on it, that then the employer is not going to see your resume and it'll be immediately rejected. And every recruiter that I've talked to that uses an applicant tracking system wants to get it out there that that is not true, that sometimes the applicant tracking system will give their information a score, but it's still possible for your application to be seen and not just immediately rejected, even with an applicant tracking system. So I just want to encourage you, that is one thing that students often tell me, like, I'm so discouraged because robots are rejecting my efforts. I just want you to know that that is not the norm in how applicant tracking systems work. So do not be afraid to apply for things and to put your best foot forward, and do not be afraid that your information will not get in front of the eyeballs that need to see it. If you have great materials and they're designed beautifully, that's what you need. And I'm happy to help with that for anyone who is a student or alumni of CG Spectrum. So thank you. Thank you for being here today. And I'm so appreciative of your time and your thoughtful questions. like I said, if you have more questions that come up as you move forward in your life and in your career, if you are not a student of CG Spectrum yet, I am still willing to talk to you because it's just a privilege to get to know folks who are interested in this profession. So feel welcome to connect with me through admissions, and they will happily pass your information along. And thanks for your time. Glad you were here today. Oh, do we have another question? We do. Do we want to do one last question on the way out? Okay. Does CG Spectrum game programming course have the ability to prepare me for which specific areas of game programming? So let's see. Passionate programming. That's amazing that you've been doing it since 12. So game programming course, generally the folks who are the mentors are have done a range of games from small to big studio. And so there is, depending on what you're looking for specifically, there is a chance that there is someone who is an expert in that would be available to help you with game programming. I suggest that you go to the CG Spectrum website and click down through the game programming information and look into the details of the classes that are offered and see if there is an overlap with what you're looking for and what we are offering, because that is going to be a great question to answer there. Or the other thing that you could do is on January the 24th, 25th, January at 6 p.m. Eastern time, there's going to be mentors, Scott Bayless and Troy Dunaway, talking about just your question, Gabriel. So yeah, if you can't make it to that, then feel welcome to reach out to admissions to ask them for more specific information if you don't get what you're looking for on the website. Yay! Thanks, everybody. So glad to have spent this time with you, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day or evening, whatever time I find you in. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and be well. Thanks, everyone. Bye.